Welcome back to the chaos. I'm Ryan. If you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button. It really helps out. But we're out here in the chaos garage today. We're gonna be tackling some maintenance on my 2008 Viper. So if you remember back, I've had the car about 6 months or so, and because I bought it sight unseen, I have no idea the maintenance history, and I don't honestly trust the dealership. So if you remember back, we actually had an oil leak. So we've actually addressed that already with the oil cooler lines was the culprit. So we replaced those. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it down below. But today, going through a little maintenance stuff, we're gonna be tackling the transmission fluid and then the rear diff fluid. So I went ahead and just picked up like all OEM stuff. So we've got our rear gear oil and then transmission oil, which I kind of find it strange that, I mean, it says automatic transmission fluid, but I went based off of like Dodge's Mopar's recommendation. And then also you're gonna wanna add like a friction additive, limited slip additive for the rear gears, just so that way they don't whine and chatter. But because I don't know the history of the car, it'll just make me feel better knowing that it's got fresh fluids in it. And like I said, it's probably, honestly, I don't know that it's been done before. And being a 2008, that's 14 years old at this point, it's probably long overdue, but it'll just give me that peace of mind so I can actually rip on the car a little bit. Because at this point, like I said, I've had the car maybe 6 months, and I don't think I've taken it over 3,000 RPM just because I've been trying to baby it, just because I don't know about the fluids in it. So that's what we're gonna tackle today. As far as quantity goes, you're gonna need 4 quarts of the transmission fluid, and then you're only actually gonna use 1.5 of the gear oil, but then you want to make sure, this is the important part, is to throw that additive in there, like I said, just so you don't get any chatter or whine in your gears. As an added little bonus, since we are gonna have like the under tray off the car and up there messing with the transmission, I actually bought like this little relay, so this should eliminate our skip shift, because I don't know if that's like a emissions thing or why that's actually on the car, but if you don't know, it will kind of lock you out. I can't remember, yeah, I think it's at a second. So if you're going slow enough, it won't allow you to shift from like first to second. It'll make you shift from first to fourth. Very strange, hate it. It's just, I don't know, it kind of catches you off guard. So while we're in there, and like I said, got that tray off, figured it'd be an easy time just to, all it is like a little plug-in sensor type of thing. So this will prevent that. I think we'll still get the light on like the dash, but it won't actually trigger that skip shift, so you can go from first to second, no problem. Before we begin work, I need to move the Viper into place, but everybody loves a good cold start, so let's fire up the tractor. I've recruited the GOAT, so Paul's here to help. So first things first, gotta get the car up in the air, and then what we're hoping is gonna be the most difficult, tricky part is, I don't know how many bolts there are to like get this under tray off the bottom, but you can't, good for aerodynamics, terrible for working on it just because everything's hidden up under there, so we can't even see the diff or the transmission at this point just because it's hidden under that tray. So we'll get it up, get that tray off. So in order to get the little under tray off, it's a combo of 2 things. You're gonna need like a little T40, these torx head bits, and a Phillips head screwdriver. But the only thing I hate is with these little torx guys, they are prone to strip, so we gotta be very careful with that because that would be a pain in the butt. But otherwise, get this tray off and then we'll be in business. All right, so there were 20 of those torx screws, pain in the butt, and then 4, well, should be 4 of the Phillips head screws. One was missing, but so I've only got 3, but you should count, all is said and done, you should have 24 screws that come out. 4 Phillips head, and then 20 torx bits. But now that we got the tray out, gonna clean that up, just that way when it goes back under the car, it should look nice and shiny. And then that way we can tell too if something leaks. But next step, I don't know, you wanna do transmission or rear?
Yeah, let's go transmission.
Transmission, so do that. So we originally had lifted up the car from the passenger side, and that's actually where the drain plug is more located, kind of on closest to the passenger. So what we're actually gonna do is we're gonna flip flop. So we're gonna raise the driver's side. That way it'll kind of tilt the transmission, let everything flow out easier to the passenger side, and then actually the fill plug is more on the driver's side. So that way we fill it with the 4 quarts. That way it'll run in nicely, and we know we get our 4 in there. It should, instead of filling it level, because it's hard to crawl up under the car so low. But yeah, so we'll switch sides and get that driver's side higher, so that way hopefully it makes the job easier.
Doing my very best for you guys to show you what we're working with, but here is our drain plug. So this is closest to, here's kind of like our frame rail for reference, but this is close to the passenger side. So drain here. And then thankfully it's a little easier to see, more so on the driver's side. There is our fill plug. And then past the fill plug, you'll notice there's like that blue wire kind of right there. I believe that's like our little module that will plug our dongle, for lack of better terms, for our skip shift eliminator. I think you just unplug that and kind of plug that relay in there, and that will eliminate that. We're gonna find out, but I'm confident that's what we're looking at.
The skip shift eliminator, I mean, there's not much to it. Literally just comes with this little dongle and then 3 zip ties, but it looks like we just replace that plug that's already in there now, and then plug it into there, and it will basically just send a false signal to the car. But so we're gonna crawl up under the car now and see if we can get this plugged in.
So I'm gonna have Paul do it. Should just unplug. So he's gonna unplug that clip in there now.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, of course. Working in tight quarters. Okay, so it's unplugged.
All right, so this side should plug into the other hand.
So it should snap in. Heard it click?
Yep.
Okay. And then plug it in just like it was always there.
Yeah, I'm charging $180 per hour for this job.
Sadly, I feel
Rounding
like
up.
took it somewhere, they would probably charge you something ridiculous like that, a Viper tax. But yeah, that should, yeah, kill that. It won't kill the light, but it'll actually kill like the mechanism from locking you out of second, which will be nice just because that's a pain in the butt.
I don't even know if you need to zip tie it.
I don't know. It seems pretty snug up there, but they send little zip ties with it, but I don't know. It seems like it's staying in place. It's not really going to go anywhere, so that should be perfect.
So next up, we're going to go ahead and drain the fluid out. So one thing I'd recommend doing with the fill plug being up top, I would go ahead and try and get that loosened up first. That way you know you can get that out. If you can't get that out and you drain the transmission, you're in a bit of a bind, because then you can't put the fluid back in. So we're going to go ahead and get that knocked out. Hopefully it won't take too long to get the fluid out of there. I think it's 4 quarts, I believe. And then we'll go ahead and get her filled up.
I hope some of that was actually visible for you all to see, but basically you don't need like any actual like socket or anything like that. You just use your actual wrench, your socket wrench with no attachment on it, and that's what you use to get the both the fill and the drain plug out. But as soon as I got that drain plug out, it just started splashing everywhere, so it made a bit of a mess. And actually I was very surprised, and in a good way, that the liquid that came out, like the transmission fluid, it was actually it was red still, and actually looked pretty clean. So very thankful for that. So it looks like actually somebody did some maintenance at some point. Time to fill her up. So we bought like these little pumps. Gonna try to attach this, one end in the jug, the other end in the transmission, fill her up, and then we should be good.
So here's our fill plug. I'm gonna take our hose, insert it kindly into the hole, and then we'll pass you over to Paul so he's gonna get his pump going while I sit in here and make sure we have no leaks.
halfway done with the job. So we've got the transmission fluid in and hopefully successful. It says to crank down 20 foot-pounds, and that was kind of making us a little bit nervous going that tight, but there's no leaks at this point. So I mean, we'll just kind of double check before, you know, we actually put like the under tray back. But we're gonna move on to the rear diff now and drain that. Ended up draining the fluid, and it's actually, I haven't pulled like the whole pan out yet, but there's like 2 drain plugs, and I pulled the first one, fluid came right out, pulled the second one, and like it was so clogged, I guess with like just the little metal shavings where it's just clumped up, and I mean no fluid was coming out of that second hole at all. So that doesn't make me feel too good, but we're letting it finish drain now, and then we'll take a look and kind of play in the pan and see if we have what kind of potentially metal in there or what we're working with.
You can see this drain plug here. This is the first one I pulled off. It flowed really good out of here. Second one over there, that's the one that was gunked up. So that doesn't make me feel good. But those are your drains. So I'll pop both of those. And then fill plug up there. So we're gonna run a hose up there to fill her up. But let's seal these up first, but let's pull the pan and see what we got.
All right, so we actually got our pan here. We're looking actually a whole lot better than I thought. So I feel like the viscosity, or I feel like it should be thicker. I mean, like when it came out, it was looking like motor oil, and it had like that same tinge to it. It looked like that real amber color. Not sure what color it should be, but I think definitely overdue for a change. But we've got everything drained out at this point. Now it's time to reverse, and I'll crawl up under there. First I've got to get the plugs in, so that way we don't, would hate to put new fluid in and just start falling to the bottom. So I need to put the plugs back, and then we'll fill her up. Now I have the rear full of fluid, so definitely a 2-person job. Paul, he was the pumper, and I was just trying to hold it into the hole to make sure we got it filled up. But the rear diff takes 1.5 quarts plus the friction modifier. So we add the friction modifier first, and then we're able to get the 1.5. And didn't make too much of a mess, but in comparison with the new stuff, it was like a nice amber. It honestly reminded me of kind of like a beer color.
Like a light beer.
Light beer to it, where it was definitely, it looked like motor oil coming out. So definitely needed to be changed. But impressed, there wasn't, aside from the gunkiness and a little bit of silver swirl, not too bad. But button everything up. We're actually gonna leave the tray off for a little bit, just kind of let the car sit, and then we'll put that tray back on. But other than that, that's all she wrote. So if you had a lift, it would be 10 times easier, but it is doable on the ground. We proved that, but it's not a hard job. It's just a time consuming, tedious job. Huge relief now that I got some of those maintenance items out of the way. Those were the 2 that were bugging me the most, was transmission and the rear diff. So definitely makes it easier when you have a second set of hands. So I appreciate Paul stopping by and helping. That was clutch. The only other piece of the puzzle that's left to get the car in actually like drivable condition and where I can actually start ripping on it is tires, and that's coming up. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any Viper content. But thankfully now I got the peace of mind that I know I can actually drive the car and know that my fluid's 100%. But I do appreciate everybody watching. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.